In the landscape of human personality, there exists a fascinating paradox. Those who understand the world most deeply are often the least understood by it. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who pioneered analytical psychology, identified a particular personality type whose members walk through life with both extraordinary gifts and profound challenges. They are the intuitive introverts, the INFJs and INTJs in modern terminology. Individuals whose inner worlds are so rich and complex that they often find themselves at odds with the external one. Today we explore their intricate minds, their unique struggles, and why Jung believed they hold a special place in the collective unconscious of humanity. Jung's typology system. Before we dive into the fascinating world of intuitive introverts, we need to understand the framework Jung created to map the human psyche. Unlike many of his contemporaries who viewed personality as fixed, Jung saw it as dynamic, a complex interaction of opposing forces. Jung's typology wasn't just another categorization system. It was revolutionary because it recognized that our minds operate through distinct psychological functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Each person, Jung proposed, has these functions arranged in a unique hierarchy. But Jung added another crucial dimension: attitude. These functions could be directed either outward toward the objective world, what he called extraversion, or inward toward the subjective world, introversion. In Jung's own words, every individual needs both mechanisms, extraversion as well as introversion, and only the relative predominance of one or the other determines the type. When intuition, the function that perceives patterns, possibilities, and meanings beyond the obvious, combines with introversion, the attitude that draws energy inward, we encounter a personality type that Jung found particularly complex and intriguing: the intuitive introvert. The intuitive introvert's mind, 530-10 Toms. For Jung, the intuitive introvert lives primarily in a world of internal images, ideas, and impressions. Unlike their sensing counterparts, who trust what they can directly perceive, intuitive introverts trust what they can envision, often seeing connections and possibilities that others miss entirely. Jung observed that these individuals often have an uncanny ability to perceive the undercurrents of situations, to read between the lines of human behavior. They don't just see what is. They see what could be, what might have been, and what lies beneath the surface. Throughout history, intuitive introverts have changed our understanding of the world. From philosophers like Kierkegaard and Nietzsche to scientists like Newton and Einstein, many revolutionary thinkers showed the hallmarks of this personality type. The intuitive introvert's perception doesn't work linearly. It makes leaps, connections, and associations that can seem magical to others. Jung described it as perception via the unconscious. Information isn't processed step by step, but absorbed in patterns and symbols. Jung wrote, "Intuition is perception via the unconscious. Everything, whether outer or inner objects or their relationships, can be the focus of this perception. The peculiarity of intuition is that it is neither sense perception, nor feeling, nor intellectual inference." The blessing and curse of depth, 10-14-30. Jung recognized that the intuitive introvert's gift of profound insight comes at a cost. The same depth that allows them to see beneath surfaces often creates an unbridgeable gap between their understanding and what they can effectively communicate to others. This created what Jung called the difficult problem of communication. While intuitive introverts often perceive profound truths, they struggle to translate these into language that others can understand, leading to profound feelings of isolation. Imagine knowing something with absolute certainty, feeling the truth of it in your bones, yet watching as others stare at you blankly when you try to explain it. This is the daily experience of many intuitive introverts. Jung himself, with his complex ideas about archetypes and the collective unconscious, often faced this dilemma. Many of his contemporaries dismissed concepts that later proved influential because they couldn't immediately grasp what he was trying to convey. This communication gap creates a painful paradox. Those who most deeply understand human nature often feel most alienated from other humans. They become, in Jung's words, lonely creatures, isolated though they are in the midst of the crowd. The shadow side. Jung believed that every personality type has its shadow, the repressed, unconscious aspects that emerge when we're under stress. For intuitive introverts, this shadow often manifests as an obsession with sensory details and external validation, precisely what they normally transcend. When stressed or unbalanced, the intuitive introvert may become fixated on minor sensory details, prone to overindulgence in physical pleasures, or paradoxically concerned with social status, compensating for their normal detachment from the material world. This shadow emerges because the psyche seeks balance. The more one-sided we become in our conscious attitude, the more our unconscious compensates in the opposite direction. For intuitive introverts who live so much in the realm of ideas and visions, the shadow often emerges as an unhealthy attachment to physical reality. Many brilliant intuitive introverts throughout history have struggled with this shadow. Nietzsche's later writings show signs of this imbalance. Tesla became increasingly eccentric and obsessive about physical details. Jung himself recognized these tendencies in his own psyche. Jung believed that integrating this shadow, acknowledging and accepting these repressed aspects, rather than projecting them outward, was essential for psychological wholeness. For intuitive introverts, this meant developing a healthier relationship with the physical world without sacrificing their inner vision, individuation, and growth. Despite these challenges, Jung saw intuitive introverts as uniquely positioned for what he called individuation, the process of becoming one's authentic self. Their natural inclination towards self-reflection and meaning-making gives them an advantage in this lifelong journey. Jung believed that true psychological development involves integrating all aspects of the psyche, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow. For intuitive introverts, this often means finding ways to bridge their inner world with the outer one, to make their insights accessible to others. When intuitive introverts succeed in this integration, they often become profound teachers, visionary leaders, or artists who can translate complex insights into forms others can understand. They become guides who help others see beyond the obvious. In Jung's view, this was their special role in the collective development of humanity, to perceive what lies beyond the horizon of common understanding and gradually bring it into consciousness, expanding our collective awareness. Jung saw this as a natural evolution. Just as nature needs both sunlight and shadow for growth, humanity needs both the pragmatic focus of extroverted sensation types and the visionary depth of intuitive introverts to evolve. Practical wisdom for modern intuitives. While Jung developed his theories nearly a century ago, they offer surprisingly relevant guidance for intuitive introverts navigating today's world, a world that often values extroverted sensation over intuitive depth. Jung would likely advise today's intuitive introverts to honor their natural gifts while developing their less dominant functions, to cultivate environments where their intuition can flourish without becoming completely disconnected from practical reality. This might mean finding creative outlets for intuitive insights, surrounding oneself with people who appreciate depth, and developing rituals that honor both the inner and outer worlds. Perhaps most importantly, Jung would encourage intuitive introverts to resist the pressure to conform to a society that often misunderstands them. In his view, their difference is not a flaw, but a necessary counterbalance to collective consciousness. As Jung himself wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Each of us carries his own life form within him, an irrational form which no other can outbid." In exploring Jung's perspective on intuitive introverts, we discover a profound appreciation for these complex individuals. Their journey is not an easy one. Caught between worlds, often misunderstood, carrying insights that outpace their ability to express them. Yet in Jung's framework, these challenges aren't meaningless suffering, but the necessary tension that produces growth, both personal and collective. The intuitive introvert's struggle to bridge inner and outer worlds ultimately enriches both. Perhaps what makes Jung's perspective so valuable is that it reframes the intuitive introvert's difficulties not as abnormalities to be corrected, but as the growing pains of consciousness evolving. Their unique perspective isn't just valid, it's vital. As Jung reminds us, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. If you're an intuitive introvert, I hope this exploration has helped you better understand and appreciate your unique psychological makeup. And if you're not, perhaps it's offered insight into the rich inner worlds of those who see beyond the obvious. The dreamers and visionaries whose difficult but interesting lives enrich our collective understanding. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Jung's fascinating perspective. If you've enjoyed this exploration, please consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, may you find balance between your inner and outer worlds.